this is a man, and I'm showing you in and out of phase images. If anybody wants to tell me either which one is in phase, which one's out of phase, or perhaps tell me what's so unusual about these in phase and out of phase images.
Can you go down further? So I'm thinking, as long as the TE is right, I'm thinking that in phase later echoes on the right because the air is blooming more over there. And I'm wondering if the ascites and the anasarca is making everything, you're not able to see the fat interfaces.
Right.
Gitanjali is also asking, is the fat sat on?
So there's no fat SAD, but good question. But Arde as usual is right. What's unusual about this is the in phase, this is the out of phase, and the reason why it's so unusual is because we're missing the typical Indian artifact. And the reason why we're missing it is because this patient just is full of ascites. So you can see that this is a T2 without fat SAD, or with fat SAD. This one without fat SAD, but you can see that there's really no fat in this patient. The subcutaneous soft tissues are severely edematous. There's paucity of fat planes in the intra-abdominal region, and then just a lot of ascites. So this is something very uncommon when you absolutely have no fat planes. But this is, something to remember again, that Indian artifact requires fat water interfaces. So in this case, there's no fat. There's just this, as far as MR is concerned, this patient one big water bag. So that's why I'm
surprised you didn't lose more signal from like dielectric effect because of so much ascites and.
Right. So this was a 1.5. So you do have some. We do have some dielectric effect centrally, but the dielectric effect is not as bad on 1.5. Another interesting thing is, the AP diameter is not as large as it could have been. It's just the fact that he's completely cachectic and edematous, so there's really no fat interface here. So it was just an interesting thing to remember that Indian artifact really needs to have a what do you call it? Fat planes.
Victoria, we had a similar case recently to that one, and it was interesting because there was severe anasarca in the subcutaneous tissues. Almost we couldn't see any fat, but then the visceral fat looked normal. Right. And we hypothesized that, because the visceral fat has more metabolic activity, for some reason it was not getting edematous. Like maybe it was, I don't know, working on other stuff or something, but on MRI it looked really weird because it was like all fluid in the subcutaneous tissues and like completely normal fat in the visceral fat.
Right, that's somewhat unusual, but usually, yeah, no, you're right, it's somewhat unusual. But in like going back to the I've only seen this degree of like complete loss of fat water interface in like a couple of cases over my many years. One was like completely cachectic AIDS person. This was another one. All right, so